There exists a kingdom on Earth where sunlight never reaches the ocean floor. A place where the sea is sealed by a layer of ice, millions of years old. But beneath this white varnish, a change is underway. Silent, inexorable, bringing with it a presence this land has never known. The Arctic, a kingdom of silence. Please give us a like and subscribe to the channel to give us more motivation to keep creating quality content. Don't forget to leave a comment below telling us what you thought of the video and let us know where you're watching from so we can chat together. May Mother Nature bless everyone with good health, peace and love for nature. Let's begin. For millennia, the Arctic existed as a fortress protected by a shield of permanent ice that no oceanic creature could penetrate. The polar bear reigned on the throne of ice. The narwhal dived deep beneath the ice floes. Seals rested on natural platforms of frozen sea. Each species evolved over millions of years to dominate this icy world. But 40% of the summer ice has vanished in just the last 30 years. And with every melting ice floe, a door opens for the one that instinct calls. The orca. A creature that possesses the second largest brain of all. A species capable of learning, teaching, and adapting to any ocean on the planet. As the ocean's most formidable predator crosses the threshold that a changing climate has thrown wide open, the Arctic will never be the same again. In 2012, Dr. Steve Ferguson of Fisheries and Oceans Canada published a study that made waves in the scientific community, the first to document the increasing presence of orcas in the Canadian Arctic. But the Inuit have known this for much longer. From now on, indigenous knowledge and Western science are converging to decipher one of the greatest ecological transformations of our century. This is the story of an invasion led not with weapons and steel, but with dorsal fins and teeth. And it begins with the very element that is disappearing, the ice. To understand why the arrival of the orca is so significant, we must first understand the world it is entering. The Arctic is not a continent. It is an ocean, imprisoned by ice for a large part of the year, surrounded by the coldest lands on Earth. Winter temperatures can drop to minus 49 degrees Fahrenheit. Darkness reigns for months. And in this seemingly inhospitable harshness, life finds a way to flourish. Beneath the thick ice, ocean currents transport plankton blooms, the base of the entire Arctic food web. From these microscopic organisms, a complex tapestry of life is woven. And at the heart of this network are the residents who have evolved for millennia to call this place their home. The bowhead whale, the gentle giant of the Arctic. With a layer of blubber reaching 12 inches thick, thicker than that of any other whale on Earth, it is the only one of its species capable of living all year round in these icy waters. A colossal body weighing up to 60 tons glides effortlessly through narrow channels between ice floes, as if the ice were absolutely no obstacle. Bowhead whales swam in these seas long before humans learned to build boats. They are an icon of perfect adaptation. A creature beautifully designed for a world of ice. The skull of the bowhead whale is so thick and reinforced that it can use its head to break ice, reaching 8 inches thick, in order to create breathing holes. No other whale on the planet possesses this ability. Its life expectancy is almost unimaginable. Scientists have found 19th century stone harpoon tips embedded in the blubber of living bowhead whales, proof that they can live more than 200 years. But the bowhead whale is not the only Arctic resident to bear the mark of millions of years of evolution. The narwhal, perhaps the strangest creature in the ocean, with a spiral tusk reaching up to 10 feet long that protrudes from its head as if out of a fairy tale. Its aerodynamic body has no dorsal fin, a subtle adaptation that allows it to glide through narrow cracks in the ice without a scratch. Narwhals live almost their entire lives beneath the Arctic ice. They search for small holes to breathe before diving back into the cold darkness. This extraordinary tusk is, in fact, an overdeveloped left canine tooth, which curls counterclockwise and is filled with nerve endings, allowing the narwhal to sense changes in temperature, pressure, and even the salinity of the seawater. It is a sensory organ disguised as a weapon. Evolution has a remarkable sense of spectacle. There is the Sassat phenomenon, when a sudden freeze traps hundreds of narwhals in a single breathing hole. Without enough air, without a way out, hundreds can perish in a single night. With a population of about 80,000 to 100,000 individuals, concentrated almost entirely in the Arctic waters of Canada and Greenland, the narwhal is one of the most geographically restricted marine mammals on Earth. Its skin, known as maktuk, is so rich in vitamin C that it has become an essential source of nutrients for the Inuit, the indigenous people who have lived alongside the narwhal for thousands of generations. For millions of years, the narwhal had no natural predators in the ocean. The Arctic sea ice was its shield, protecting it from all marine killers. This ice shield is becoming thinner, and a predator the narwhal has never known is approaching. But if the ocean is the kingdom of the narwhal and the bowhead whale on the surface of the ice, there is only one king. The polar bear, the largest land carnivore on Earth. An adult male can weigh up to 1,760 pounds. A mass of pure muscle wrapped in dense white fur, having evolved for hundreds of thousands of years to dominate the permanent ice. This white fur is more than just camouflage. Each hair is actually transparent and hollow, acting like a fiber optic tube, channeling sunlight to the black skin situated underneath, helping to absorb heat in the freezing cold. Beneath the skin is a layer of blubber reaching 4 inches thick. An insulating armor that allows the polar bear to swim in nearly frozen seawater without losing body weight. A polar bear's sense of smell can detect a seal from more than 1 mile away, even when its prey is hidden beneath a thick layer of snow. It is the most perfect evolutionary weapon that nature has offered a hunter on the ice. And when the scent of a seal is on the wind, the hunt begins. The polar bear approaches the seal's breathing hole in the ice, slowly and patiently. Each step is placed with such softness that no sound propagates across the frozen surface. In an instant, almost too fast for the eye to follow, the bear breaks the ice and tears the seal out. The hunt is over. On the white surface, red blood spreads, proof of an order that has existed for millions of years. The bear uses its jaws to tear through the seal's blubber first, the part richest in energy. The rest is often left to Arctic foxes, small beneficiaries that follow the large bears, waiting for the leftovers. Each dead seal provides the bear with enough energy to survive 11 more days. But to catch one, a bear may have to wait for hours, or even days. Patience. That is the quality that millions of years of evolution have granted this carnivore. Patience and ice. This is the Arctic we knew, a world where each species had its place, where ice was the law, and where the polar bear was the undisputed sovereign. With a population of about 22,000 to 31,000 individuals divided into 20 subpopulations, the polar bear is classified by the IUCN as vulnerable. Not because it is weak, but because its world is disappearing. Some subpopulations, such as that of Western Hudson Bay, have declined by up to 30% since 1987. A terrifying transformation is upsetting everything the Arctic has ever known. And the pace of this change is faster than what science had predicted. The Arctic is warming 2 to 4 times faster than the global average, a phenomenon that scientists call Arctic amplification. 40% of the summer ice layer has been lost over the last 3 decades. 95% of the multi-year ice, the thickest ice that survived more than 4 years, has disappeared since the 1980s. On September 16, 2012, the extent of Arctic sea ice reached a historic minimum of only 1.3 million square miles. That is 49% below the 1979 to 2000 average. It was the largest seasonal ice loss ever recorded in the history of satellite observation. The permafrost is beginning to thaw. Trees are growing where there was once only barren tundra. The tree line is advancing north. And then, in the summer of 2008, something unprecedented happened in the distant western Arctic: forest fires. For the polar bear, the disappearance of the ice is not just a loss of habitat. It is the loss of an entire survival strategy. Without ice, there are no platforms for hunting seals. Without seals, there is no food. The polar bear's fasting period has already lengthened by about 3 weeks compared to the 1990s. For every week that the ice melts earlier, the average bear loses about 22 pounds of body weight. In their desperation, some bears are resorting to food sources their ancestors never needed. On steep cliffs hundreds of feet high, where colonies of thick-billed Murray's nest, giant white silhouettes have appeared. Polar bears climbing rock walls to feed on eggs and chicks. The number of times bears have been seen plundering seabird colonies has increased more than 7-fold since the 1980s, a perfect inverse correlation with the number of days sea ice is present each year. But these small eggs and chicks cannot replace the energy of seal blubber. A single seal provides much more energy than dozens of bird eggs. This is an act of desperation, not adaptation. The bears that climb these cliffs are often females with cubs, the very individuals that desperately need energy to raise the next generation. The king of the ice is losing its kingdom. And when a throne is vacant, nature never leaves it empty for long. Another is arriving. Someone who does not need ice to survive. Someone for whom this same ice, for millions of years, was the only barrier to entry. The orca, or its scientific name Orcinus orca, translates frighteningly as demon of the underworld. They belong to the dolphin family, but they are the largest, fastest, and most intelligent members of their entire order. An adult male can measure up to 33 feet long and weigh up to 22,000 pounds. Its maximum speed is 34 miles per hour, with 40 to 56 interlocking conical teeth, each reaching up to 4 inches long. But what makes the orca more ferocious than any other predator on the planet is not its size or its speed. It is its brain. The orca's brain weighs up to 15 pounds. The second largest of all marine mammals, surpassed only by that of the sperm whale. Its cerebellum is exceptionally well developed. Its cortex possesses a level of complexity that few mammals on Earth can match. Females can live up to 80 years, males from 30 to 50 years. During this time, they accumulate knowledge about prey, currents, enemies, and pass it on to the next generation. With a global population estimated at 50,000 individuals, orcas are found in all oceans, from the tropics to the poles. No sea is beyond their reach. What does this mean? It means that orcas do not simply hunt. They elaborate strategies. Each family, group or clan has its own dialect. They communicate with a complex system of sounds that scientists are still deciphering. A mother teaches her calf hunting skills. The calf learns from its mother and, in turn, will pass this knowledge on to the next generation. This is not instinct. It is culture. And it is this culture that has made the orca the most successful predator in every ocean it inhabits. No other marine mammal hunts such a diversity of prey. They are a masterpiece of natural selection. They track every escape like a bloodhound. In New Zealand, they dive to the seabed and use their snouts to dig into the sand, locating and capturing hidden stingrays with surgical precision. In Patagonia, they do what no other marine mammal dares to do. They intentionally beach themselves by using the surge of a wave to propel their massive bodies onto dry land and catch seals before rolling back into the ocean. A different strategy for every sea. A unique hunting tradition for every clan. They develop, teach, perfect. In any ocean on Earth, the orca is rapidly becoming the ultimate arbiter of life and death, the absolute master without exception. They have been called the most formidable predator since the Tyrannosaurus rex. Only one thing on Earth has kept orcas from entering the Arctic: the ice. A male's dorsal fin reaches up to 6 feet high. A massive structure that cannot navigate through a thick layer of ice. For millions of years, this was the only natural barrier. Imagine a creature weighing 9 tons and measuring 33 feet, with a dorsal fin as tall as a man, stopped by a layer of frozen water. Not for lack of power, but because of its own anatomy, until humans changed the climate and that barrier melted into water. Now, every summer, as the ice retreats further north, open waters expand and the orcas follow them. Satellite observations show that orca sightings in the Canadian Arctic peak from June to August, a period that perfectly coincides with the minimum extent of sea ice. But long before Western science recognized this change, there were people who had seen it with their own eyes, from small boats in a sea of ice. For thousands of years, the Inuit have lived to the rhythm of the Arctic, reading the climate in the winds, predicting seal migration by the currents, and understanding sea ice as they understand their own homes. Inuit knowledge, Inuit Kaujimajatu Kongit, is not written in textbooks. It is passed down orally through hundreds of generations, perfected by the harsh experience of survival. For the Inuit, the arrival of orcas is not just an ecological phenomenon. It is a direct threat to their subsistence. Narwhals and seals, the orca's primary prey, are the same essential sources of protein for these indigenous communities. When orcas hunt narwhals, they enter into direct competition with Inuit hunters. Two apex predators, one born of nature, the other of humanity, are now targeting the same prey. The narwhal, the unicorn of the seas that has lived peacefully under the Arctic ice for millions of years, now faces an enemy it never evolved to counter. Remember, the narwhal has no dorsal fin. It is designed to glide under the ice, not to outrun a high-speed predator in open waters. As the ice melts, the narwhal's protective shield evaporates. And in the vast open expanse, the narwhal becomes the perfect prey. Slow, visible, and with nowhere to hide. Hunters speak of a constant increase in the number of orcas, more each summer than the last, especially in August, when sea ice is at its annual minimum. The clans travel from the deep waters of the Western Atlantic through newly opened straits into the heart of the Canadian Arctic. These are deliberate journeys of more than 1,000 miles. But the most shocking discovery was not the increasing number of orcas. It was their position in the big picture. Normally, when an ecosystem changes, the alteration begins at the base of the food chain. Plankton decreases, small fish lose their food source, and the effects ripple upward. But in the Arctic, the opposite is happening. The change comes from the top. The largest predator arrives first, and the entire food web below is unprepared. It is a trophic cascade, an effect collapsing from the summit. This is rare in nature, and its consequences are impossible to predict. The question is no longer whether orcas hunt mammals in the Arctic. The question is, what will happen when they are all gone? Share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think will happen when the ocean's most powerful predator takes control? But could a camera one day capture this historic moment? The first time a massacre was filmed? The answer would come from an expedition in the summer of 2013, and what the research team found would exceed all expectations. August 2013, Dr. Steve Ferguson organises the first expedition dedicated to searching for orcas in the Canadian Arctic. Corey Matthews leads the field team. Natalie Reiner, a doctoral student, is tasked with collecting biological data. Satellite tags, crossbows, cameras, everything is loaded onto the boat. The mission seems simple. Find orcas, attach satellite tags, collect tissues. The reality is that there was no guarantee they would see any. No one knew where they would be. And the Arctic summer only offered a short window of time before the ice returned. the Arctic is vaster than any imagination can conceive. Millions of square miles of sea, thousands of islands, countless straits, and orcas appear only a few weeks a year in unpredictable places. Finding orcas in the Arctic is like looking for a needle in a haystack if the haystack were the size of an ocean. But the research team had an advantage that no laboratory in the world could provide: Charlie Inuarak and the Inuit hunters. Indigenous knowledge combined with modern science. This is the model that Arctic researchers now consider the standard for the future. The team departs from Pond Inlet on the northern coast of Baffin Island and heads west, following the same route that the Inuit have used to track narwhals for generations. The sea is calm. Icebergs float in the grey water. Not the slightest sign of an orca. Large ice floes drift, majestic as crystal castles. However, even they shrink with every passing summer. The first day passes with intense anticipation. Eyes fixed on binoculars, ears attentive to the sound of a blow. Nothing. Then, toward the end of the day, as hope began to fade, a shout rang out from the boat's bow. Oh my God, look at that. A black dorsal fin cuts through the surface. Not one, but an entire clan, orcas, on the very first day. At that moment, all those years of research, all those interviews, all that data from the Inuit, everything became real before their eyes. It was the first time in history that a film crew had filmed orcas in the Canadian Arctic. Images that, until then, had existed only in Inuit stories. But the most spectacular images did not come from a professional research team. They came from a much more unexpected source. The same summer of 2013, the son of Charlie Inuarak, the hunter we met earlier, went out to sea with an amateur camera and filmed what science was looking for. Orcas attacking right there. The first thing confirmed is that the adults feed on the blood floating on the surface after tearing a narwhal to pieces. The smaller ones, perhaps juveniles learning to hunt, dive to keep them afloat. The most frightening detail: even when they are satiated, the orcas continue to hunt and kill narwhals. Not out of hunger, perhaps to teach their calves, perhaps out of a deep impulse for domination. Charlie's son's images confirm what his father had told them, what the Inuit had known for so long, but which the world now saw with its own eyes. Science needed visual evidence, and now it had it. The orcas have arrived. They are hunting and have no intention of leaving. What is remarkable is that the Arctic orcas seem to be developing new hunting tactics, different from any other. They are learning to hunt narwhals in waters filled with drifting ice. These strategies will be passed on to the next generation. The next generation will perfect them. This is the power of the orca, the capacity for relentless adaptation. Orca sightings began to arrive from all over the Canadian Arctic. Not just from Pond Inlet, not just from Baffin Island, but from many Inuit communities scattered over thousands of miles. Satellite data from the 5 tagged orcas showed them going deep into the Canadian Arctic throughout the summer, only to withdraw when the ice began to reform in the autumn. The pattern was clear. In summer, when the ice melts, the orcas arrive. In winter, when the ice returns, they leave. But with every year that the ice melts more, the window of time during which orcas can stay in the Arctic grows longer. Science and indigenous knowledge together confirm an undeniable truth. The Arctic has a new king, and this transfer of power has just begun. So, what does the Arctic await? Scientists predict that an ice-free summer in the Arctic could occur at some point between the 2040s and 2050s. When that happens, the final barrier holding the orcas back will disappear completely. Orcas will no longer be visitors for a few weeks each summer. They will stay for months, perhaps even all year round. And as they stay longer, they will need more food, more narwhals, more seals, and possibly even young bowhead whales. The narwhal, with its limited population, narrow range, and lack of experience in dealing with high-speed predators, is among the marine mammals most vulnerable to a changing climate. Seals lose the ice flows they need to rest and give birth. The polar bear, the former king, continues its decline as its icy world shrinks year after year. The IUCN classifies the polar bear as vulnerable. The narwhal, although currently classified as of least concern, teeters on the brink of a status change as the twin threats of climate change and predation by orcas become clearer and clearer. Species that have lived here for millions of years must now face a change that has occurred in only a few decades. The gap between the speed of evolution and the speed of transformation That is the true danger. The arrival of the orca in the Arctic is a symptom of a warming planet, melting permanent ice, and a millennial ecological order being disrupted in a matter of decades. The Arctic is warming 2 to 4 times faster than the rest of the world. And every tenth of a degree of that increase means less ice, more orcas, and fewer narwhals. Nature never leaves a throne empty. As the polar bear loses its kingdom of ice, the orca is ready to take its place. Not because it is stronger than the bear, but because it does not need the ice to survive. Adaptation. It is nature's most unyielding law. The species that adapts survives. The one that cannot vanishes. But what is so alarming is not the change itself. It is the speed. The Arctic is changing faster than at any time in recent natural history, 2 to 4 times the global average. Can the narwhal adapt in time? Can the polar bear find a new strategy? Can the Inuit maintain a way of life thousands of years old? No one has the definitive answer. But there is one thing on which both science and indigenous knowledge agree. We must understand what is happening faster, more deeply, and with respect, both for the people who have lived here for millennia and for the creatures that have been swimming in these waters for millions of years. But one thing is already clear. The Arctic has changed. And what comes next, no one can predict. Out there, beneath the cold grey water of the Arctic Sea, a black dorsal fin silently cuts the surface, then disappears under the last of the ice. The orca has arrived, and the Arctic will never be the same again. Thank you for joining us on Gardox. The natural world has countless other stories to tell. If you are not subscribed, this is the perfect time. See you at the next expedition. Siberia, a world where beauty and death are separated by only a single breath. Here, every individual has its place, its own purpose. It forges the will, forcing all life to adapt or be erased. There is absolutely no room for error. Ultimate preparation is the only key to avoiding a death sentence. In the midst of the fiercest blizzards, where winds reach 62 miles per hour, the reindeer stands tall, a resilient warrior of the frozen lands. With thick fur covering its entire body, The reindeer is gifted by nature with a thermal coat to withstand the harshest winters. Its impressive size, weighing over 397 pounds and standing up to 5 feet at the shoulder, is ideal for storing fat. However, to survive, they need more than just a warm coat. Long before winter arrives, the reindeer begin their preparations, seeking gentler lands to the south. Staying in the frozen Arctic could be a fatal miscalculation. These migrations often span hundreds of miles, with herds numbering thousands of individuals. Upon arriving in their wintering grounds, they live in groups to conserve heat and protect each other from predators. In addition to seeking shelter, the reindeer's coat also turns white. It is an ingenious camouflage in the now discolored forests. The reindeer's eyes can shift from golden brown in summer to deep blue in winter. This alteration increases light sensitivity, helping them see in the ultraviolet spectrum. When hunger strikes, the herd is forced to set out in search of food. They must choose between starvation and the cold that cuts through flesh. The reindeer move across the white landscape in search of grasses, mosses, and lichens. Thanks to their large hooves, they can walk with ease on snow up to 5 feet deep. The hooves are also a useful tool. With them, the reindeer can dig deep into the snow in search of food. Every day, they must consume up to 11 pounds of food. However, digging at random would waste precious energy. The reindeer rely on their extraordinary sense of smell to locate food, such as nutritious mushrooms hidden under the snow. A keen sense of smell helps not only in finding food, but also in avoiding predation. Hundreds of predators are always lurking, waiting for an off-guard reindeer. When they feel threatened, they can accelerate up to 50 miles per hour to escape. Sometimes they must bravely face their enemies. Reindeer use their sharp antlers, which can reach up to 5 feet in length, to attack predators. However, the winter is long and relentless. Some weaker individuals will not endure and will become victims of the cold. At this point, the herd can only continue its journey in the hope of better days to come. Not far from where the reindeer herd lives, a king of the sky observes everything. It is the golden eagle. With courage and a survivor's instinct, it does not abandon the demanding Siberian ecosystem, but remains there despite the harsh living conditions. With a wingspan reaching 6.5 feet and weighing over 9 pounds, the golden eagle is not a small bird that must fly south to escape the Russian winter. Its dense plumage is one of the many adaptations that help this predator survive. Its feathers are waterproof, protecting its body from daily snowfall. In winter, food is no longer abundant. The eagle must seize every opportunity to feed. It turns to hunting smaller prey. With its phenomenal vision, the golden eagle can spot prey from a distance of up to 2 miles. It is an incomparable advantage where the sun rarely appears. When the golden eagle patrols the skies, hares and small rodents would do well to hide. Within seconds, they can be snatched up by its sharp talons. After identifying its prey, the eagle dives at a speed of over 124 miles per hour. When the eagle's talons close, they exert a pressure of up to 62 pounds per square inch, 15 times the grip strength of a strong man. Once struck, the prey has almost no chance of escaping. Although it is not primarily a scavenger, when the winter is severe and prey becomes scarce, even the king of the sky must adapt. The carcasses of animals that have perished due to the climate are a godsend. With its magnificent flight, sharp talons, and robust beak, the golden eagle sits at the top of the Siberian food chain. Approximately 1,200 miles to the north, where winter has frozen the Arctic Ocean, a majestic mammal weighing over 2 tons emerges from the depths, the walrus. While other species must flee the near-freezing waters, for the walrus, these hundreds of miles of ice floes are a paradise. The walrus's ability to adapt to low temperatures is perhaps one of the most impressive in the animal kingdom. To maintain its body temperature, nature has endowed the walrus with a layer of blubber reaching 6 inches thick. This layer of fat, representing up to a third of its body weight, helps it stay warm. Walruses are masters of blood regulation. When they are in cold water, blood is directed toward the internal organs, giving them a greyish appearance. But when they emerge to sunbathe, their blood vessels dilate, colouring their entire bodies a vibrant pink, as if they had sunburn. While other creatures struggle to find food, the walrus knows exactly where to find its daily meals. The Arctic seabed, even in winter, is rich in mollusks, crustaceans, and invertebrates. Every day, the walrus dives to depths of 300 feet into the dark waters, raking the seabed in search of food. They use their sensitive whiskers as a detector, The walrus uses its tusks, which can measure up to 3 feet long, to dig into the seabed and unearth hidden treasures. These tusks are also used as hooks to help them pull themselves out of the water and cross steep terrain. However, in the Siberian ecosystem, no one is completely safe. The fearsome orca is the enemy of the walrus. To escape them, the walrus must move to higher ground, where ice several yards thick prevents these fierce predators from reaching them. In the middle of the Siberian winter, the walrus begins its mating season. The males will use their versatile tusks for a new purpose. During the breeding season, these giants fight for females, clashing with their massive bodies and using their tusks as weapons. After mating, the female will be pregnant for up to 16 months and will give birth to a calf weighing about 165 pounds. The most fearsome bite in all of Siberia is found further south, in the midst of the dense forests of the Russian taiga. It belongs to the Siberian tiger. With males weighing over 595 pounds and measuring over 6.5 feet long, the Amur tiger is living proof that in Siberia everything is bigger and wilder. It is the world's largest cat. In winter, the Siberian tiger's fur can grow up to 4 inches long in places. Its coat is paler and its stripes less marked, helping it camouflage in the snowy landscape. The life of a Siberian tiger is quite solitary during the long winter. They often travel long distances to patrol their territories, marking boundaries with urine and claw marks on trees. With a voracious appetite, a Siberian tiger can devour up to 66 pounds of meat in a single meal, enough to sustain it for days. At the top of the food chain, it can prey on almost anything that crosses its path. Large prey are the tiger's absolute priority. Deer, elk, reindeer, and wild boars must be extremely careful, because within seconds they can be attacked by a large cat weighing over 440 pounds. Living in dense forests, the key to the Siberian tiger's hunting success is stealth, especially during the harsh winter. The tiger avoids long chases, preferring to ambush its prey. They spring from their cover, jumping directly at the prey's throat and subduing it with a powerful bite. If it fails its initial attack, the Siberian tiger will not hesitate to pursue, accelerating to nearly 50 miles per hour over short distances to capture its food. After months of incessant snowfall and frozen rivers, spring finally emerges. For the Amur tiger, this means prey will be abundant and the mating season will begin. As spring arrives, Siberia awakens from a long lethargy. The thick snow melts, revealing a lush green carpet of vegetation that grows vigorously. The rivers, once hampered by ice and snow, now sing a song of freedom. Migratory birds fill the sky, announcing a new reality in the wild Siberia. This is perhaps the greatest spectacle of life ever seen in this region. Where nature seemed merely to be surviving, it is now a paradise on Earth. Of course, only the species that stay to endure the harsh winter can fully appreciate the beauty of this very different Siberia. Among these survivors, at the edge of the northern forests and vast prairies, is the black grouse. With its lyre-shaped tail and brilliant black plumage that shimmers with a mystical blue, the black grouse is proof of the diversity of life in Siberia. As spring arrives, the black grouse develops a vibrant red crest above its eyes. It may seem too fragile to have endured the long winter, but it possesses its own secrets. After months spent perched on treetops, feeding solely on pine needles, they eagerly welcome a fresh and lush spring. Food becomes abundant with berries, young shoots, and shrubs. Unlike migratory birds, the black grouse is quite sedentary. They generally live in areas of 4 to 8 square miles. Just like the black grouse, predators also rejoice in the abundance of prey that spring brings. When a threat approaches, the black grouse beats its wings and flies a short distance at a low altitude to escape danger. For the black grouse, love is in the air, and there is no better way to celebrate than by finding a female to grow the family. Its mating ritual is truly captivating. At dawn, the males gather in parade, grounds known as leks. The males show their vitality by fanning their lyre-shaped tails and singing melodies. When a male succeeds, the female flies off to find a safe place to lay her eggs. Generally, she digs a nest in tall vegetation or at the base of a tree. For about 25 days, the female will incubate the eggs and protect them from predators. When the chicks hatch, the single mother's work is not yet finished. At 14 days old, the chicks can already perform short flights and follow their mother in search of food. One of the first lessons they must learn is to make the most of spring. Leaving the prairies to head deeper into the forest, a howl echoes in the distance. The wolf pack is ecstatic over the abundance of prey that spring brings. The difficulties of winter are now just a memory. The wolves begin to shed their thick winter coat for a lighter layer, better suited to a milder climate. At dawn and dusk, the wolf pack spreads terror among the creatures of the forest. They move in coordination with an uncontrollable hunger, with packs that can be very large, and an adult wolf consuming about 9 pounds of meat per day. They focus on hunting large prey, enough for everyone. In their sights are deer, elk, wild boar, and bison, especially with the abundance that spring provides. To find prey in the vast Siberian forests, the wolves use their sophisticated sense of smell. Upon detecting prey, the entire pack will follow the trail. When hunting, wolves have several strategies depending on the size of the prey and the terrain. When the vegetation allows, the pack encircles the prey from multiple directions and attacks simultaneously. The element of surprise is the key to success. Another favorite strategy of the wolf pack is to chase the prey until it exhausts itself and collapses under their fangs. After a very long chase, the result is almost always the same. The prey collapses from exhaustion and is quickly shredded by the pack. The successful existence of the wolf pack in a place as harsh as Siberia is due to their complex hierarchy, where each member knows its place and duty. While wolves live in organized packs, another predator prefers a solitary life on the high slopes of the mountains of southern Siberia. The formidable snow leopard. The ghost of the mountains, as it is often called, is a majestic cat weighing up to 121 pounds and measuring 5 feet long. With its thick, pale grey coat, the snow leopard is perfectly camouflaged in its rocky environment. Traditionally, a single male dominates a territory of up to 386 square miles. With large paws, small ears, and thick fur, the name snow leopard is no coincidence. The snow leopard possesses a tail almost as long as its body. It is not only a rudder to help it balance when it leaps on cliffs. It also becomes a warm scarf to wrap around its nose and filter the cold air before it enters the lungs. This large cat is perfectly adapted to the harsh winter conditions of Siberia. The snow leopard lives in very high regions, where low temperatures are not a survival challenge, but a constant. One of the challenges of this isolated habitat is the scarcity of prey. Species like deer, reindeer, or elk generally do not venture onto these desolate slopes. To solve this problem, the snow leopard focuses on species that dare to disturb its tranquility, such as Siberian ibex, chamois, and marmots. Thanks to its grey coat, the snow leopard can camouflage perfectly in the rocky environment throughout the year. Silence is its best hunting tool. The snow leopard generally finishes its prey with a powerful bite to the neck. With its powerful legs, in addition to performing impressive leaps, the snow leopard can reach speeds of up to 37 miles per hour during short chases. No matter how fast the prey is, sooner or later it will be caught. Sometimes the Siberian ecosystem generously offers the king of the mountains a sumptuous feast of carrion. Victims of slippery cliffs are perfectly acceptable food. Unlike the simple plumage of the black grouse in southeastern Siberia, in the calm waters of summer, the colorful mandarin duck enjoys a fresh bath. Although majestic Siberia is the home of wild giants, it is also a comfortable habitat for the small mandarin duck, one of the smallest waterfowl in the world. The mandarin duck is a representative of the beauty of Siberian fauna. Even in the midst of the vibrant summer ecosystem, this small bird does not go unnoticed because of its bright colors. Although it is very easy to see, having such showy plumage is sometimes not a good idea. There is always one or two predators that want to make the mandarin duck part of their diet. Species that are not interested in beauty but only in the taste of the mandarin duck include owls, red foxes, and martens. The mandarin duck, knowing that nature has been generous with its appearance but not with its combat capabilities, will choose the easy way and run away as soon as it feels threatened. One of the keys to the survival of this small bird is its dietary adaptability. In spring and summer, it eats worms, insects, fish, frogs, and basically anything within its reach. After mating, with 9 to 12 eggs on the way, the female does something quite strange. She practices brood parasitism, which consists of leaving some of her eggs hidden in the nests of other females. After finishing her mandatory maternal duties for some chicks, the female will build her own nest in a tree near the water. The female will incubate the eggs herself, being the sole responsible party. The male, unable to handle the pressure, leaves just before the chicks are born. The single mother will take on the task of raising her large family. The chicks would do well to learn fast, because the leaves are starting to fall, signaling the proximity of autumn. With the arrival of autumn in Siberia, the air becomes tense. The slight drop in temperature brings with it unpleasant memories of the winter past. While most species try to enjoy the last days of pleasant temperatures, some have already started preparing for winter. This is the case with the very foresighted Siberian chipmunk. As soon as it feels the slight drop in temperature, the chipmunk wastes no time and gets to work. As a small rodent weighing no more than 5 ounces, the chipmunk knows very well that the key to survival is to complete its tasks before winter freezes everything. The first task is to build a comfortable home to protect itself from the intense cold. Although there are many trees, the chipmunk prefers to live underground. Thanks to its powerful claws, the chipmunk has no problem digging and building its winter shelter. It builds true complexes, reaching up to 10 feet long and 6 feet deep, with pantries, latrines, and even a cozy nest. Although chipmunks can live in colonies, each generally has its own territory, which means each must dig its own winter shelter. With a home prepared, one of the chipmunk's biggest concerns is keeping its small body well nourished. In autumn, the chipmunk seeks to maximize its percentage of body fat. However, that will not be enough to endure the next 8 months of winter. Therefore, the chipmunk will work to create a personal warehouse of seeds and nuts to eat when the entire forest is once again covered in white. While the chipmunk sees the sunlight for the last time for a long while, the greatest fear of countless wild animals becomes reality. The Siberian winter is back. While many species lament the early return of winter, in the north, where water is gradually freezing again, a white giant stands up to 5 feet at the shoulder and is capable of reaching 10 feet when it stands on its hind legs. For the polar bear, the return of winter is like a miracle. The northern coast of Siberia is freezing again, creating thousands of miles of ice for the bear to travel in search of food. After a summer of scarcity due to the melting ice, winter will bring many surprises. As soon as a thin layer of ice forms, the polar bear begins its long journey north. Although winter assails its habitat with temperatures reaching minus 76 degrees Fahrenheit, the polar bear walks as if nothing were wrong, thanks to its thick white fur. Under this coat, the polar bear possesses a large amount of fat, ensuring a perfect thermal layer for the long, cold months to come. When the temperature drops, its special feast also begins. After venturing into the depths of the frozen Arctic, the polar bear immediately switches to hunt mode. The target is the unfortunate ringed seals that have fallen into the crosshairs of the fiercest predator of the Siberian Arctic. The polar bear often lurks near the breathing holes that seals leave in the ice. When the off-guard seal sticks its head out to breathe, it will meet a fierce and very hungry bear. If it has no luck during the hunt on the ice, the polar bear does not hesitate to dive into the icy waters to bring its own food. Thanks to its enormous paws, in addition to walking on ice and snow, the polar bear is also an extraordinary swimmer. A bear can even swim a distance of up to 56 miles in search of food. With an insatiable appetite capable of devouring up to 88 pounds of fat and meat in a single meal, it obtains a huge source of energy for the days of hunting ahead. When the climate is harsh, with relentless blizzards, the polar bear has no choice but to dig a small den to take shelter. It can stay in the den for days without coming out. Although very happy that the Siberian winter has finally arrived, the polar bear knows very well that this will not last forever. When the snow melts due to an early spring, the days of scarcity will be inevitable. Today, The greatest threat to Siberia no longer comes from its winter, but from the rapid change of the Earth's climate itself. Arctic sea ice is melting faster than at any other time in modern history. For the polar bear, every day of melting ice is not just a loss of territory, but the disappearance of its very foundation of survival. As winters become shorter and more unpredictable, even the most perfect predators begin to lose their advantage. It is not just about the polar bear. The entire Siberian ecosystem is changing profoundly. The early melting of ice disrupts reindeer migration cycles. Taiga forests are more vulnerable to fire as temperatures rise. Eagles, wolves, and herbivores are forced to adapt to a new ecological rhythm, one that is faster, more unstable, and more fragile. This makes Siberia a giant natural laboratory for climate change. What happens here is not just a story of Russia or the Arctic, but an early warning for the entire planet. However, science also offers us hope. Conservation programs, sustainable forest management, and ecological reserves demonstrate that humanity can develop without destroying. When ecosystems are protected, nature possesses a capacity for resilience far greater than we could imagine. Siberia, as harsh as it is, remains a symbol of fierce vitality if we give it the chance. For Siberia is not just a land of ice and beasts, it is a powerful reminder that when humanity learns to respect the limits of nature, life will always find a way to continue. "65 million years ago, a colossal collision between the African and European tectonic plates shattered the floor of the Tethys Ocean. Ancient sediments were pushed upward, brushing the clouds. The result was the formation of the Alps, the stone backbone of Europe. Although it occupies only 14% of the mountain range, Switzerland is a concentration of its essence. Home to 48 peaks that rise above 13,123 feet. Among them, the Dufourspitze stands like a sentinel at 15,203 feet, reigning over a world where time itself seems frozen in eternal rock. At the foot of these giants lies the Aletsch, an ice titan 14 miles long. Over the millennia, these immense glaciers have carved deep and spectacular valleys like Zermatt and Lauterbrunnen. This is more than a landscape. It is a source of life. The Aletsch is the frozen heart that fuels the great arteries of the continent, the Rhone and Rhine rivers. In the Alps, nature is governed by a strict and relentless law. For every 328 feet of elevation gained, the temperature drops by 1 degree Fahrenheit. This gradient creates three distinct worlds. From the silent subalpine pine forests to the lush alpine meadows, and finally to the realm of eternal ice. It is a sanctuary for tens of thousands of species. Among them, mountain spirits found nowhere else on Earth. When the first rays of summer sun pierce the ice, the Alps awaken. Temperatures in the lower regions reach 68 degrees Fahrenheit, triggering a miraculous chain reaction. Meltwater from the Matterhorn and the Dufour-Spitze cascades down, turning into roaring waterfalls that bring life to carpets of vibrant wildflowers. From an altitude of 9,842 feet, the thunder of falling water and the glare of the sun on rock create a symphony of rebirth. Summer is not just a season. It is the resounding call of life from the roof of Europe. Lush meadows fed by glacial streams like the Gornera provide vital sustenance to the alpine ibex. In summer, they climb steep precipices in search of tender grass, herbs, and shrubs. Their climbing ability is stunning, the product of millions of years of evolution. With powerful, cloven-shaped hooves, an ibex can grip ledges barely an inch wide. These nearly vertical rock walls become safe refuges, protecting them from predators like the golden eagle and the Eurasian lynx. Toward the end of summer, males engage in battles for dominance. The powerful clash of their horns echoes through the mountains. These contests not only establish rank within the herd, but are also a rehearsal for the breeding season in the coming autumn. Summer is also a busy but abundant time for the chamois. Green alpine pastures offer an abundance of food. They make the most of this period, navigating steep cliffs in search of forage. An exceptional ability to climb, thanks to powerful legs and perfectly adapted hooves, allows them to cling to slippery rock surfaces. Chamois live in small herds, usually of 15 to 30 individuals. Powerful males take the lead, defending territories and controlling access to the most nutritious grazing zones. Constant vigilance is their survival strategy, especially when crossing open areas. A chamois can reach speeds of up to 31 miles per hour on rugged terrain, allowing it to easily outdistance potential threats. The mountain hare is a symbol of incredible adaptation to the harsh environment of the Swiss Alps. With the arrival of summer, the hare gradually molts its white winter coat for a mottled grey-brown cloak. It blends into the rocky slopes and green meadows. a master of camouflage in the wild landscape. During this period, grasses, wildflowers, and other nutritious plants become its main diet, helping it regain strength after the harsh winter. The change in its fur is not just for camouflage, but it is also a way to cope with the intense summer sun. At lower altitudes, from 5,000 to 6,500 feet, the Swiss subalpine zone acts as a bridge. Summer temperatures there oscillate between 41 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit, allowing life to bloom again. Snowmelt meanders down mountain slopes, through pine and spruce forests. And in the valleys, green meadows stretch out like a soft carpet. Dense forests offer both food and shelter, helping the red deer escape predators lurking in the shadows. Under the gentle sun, fawns follow their mothers, learning to find tender grass. Throughout the summer, herds of red deer spend much of their time grazing in the meadows. An adult male deer must consume several pounds of grass and leaves each day to maintain its large size. Weighing between 330 and 600 pounds, the red deer is a dominant presence in this mountain forest. Male deer, with their magnificent antlers, grow stronger during this season. Their antlers are not only a symbol of power, but also a crucial tool for the impending battles of the breeding season. Meanwhile, the roe deer, smaller than the red deer, becomes more active than ever. Males engage in fierce fights for the right to mate. They chase and fight, rubbing their antlers on trees and making loud calls to mark their territory and attract females. The abundance of summer vegetation, with its fresh grass, tender leaves, and nutritious shoots, helps the roe deer accumulate essential energy reserves. The red fox is a cunning and opportunistic hunter, which thrives when nature is at its most vibrant and abundant. Although they tend to be solitary, summer is the time when kits grow and begin to learn vital survival skills from their mother. They venture out of the den, exploring their environment and learning the art of hunting. Omnivorous, the red fox is remarkably flexible in its diet. Throughout the summer, it hunts young birds, lizards, and insects. It can pounce nearly 3 feet into the air to catch small rodents hidden underground. In addition, they supplement their diet with berries and wild fruits. The European badger, meanwhile, uses its keen sense of smell to locate a wide variety of food sources. Earthworms are its favourites and make up a significant part of its diet. A single badger can consume hundreds of earthworms in one night. With its powerful claws, the badger digs deep into the ground in search of roots and tubers as an additional nutritional source. European badgers live in large, socially complex family groups, sharing vast underground burrow systems called setts. A sett can have up to 50 entrances and is regularly cleaned and lined with fresh grass and leaves throughout the summer. These burrows are not just refuges, they are fortresses against predators and the elements. As the summer days fade, the Swiss Alps welcome a magical moment of transition. Coniferous forests and high meadows ignite with shades of red, orange and gold. The landscape undergoes a spectacular transformation. A living canvas where nature and time intersect. Rain begins to fall more frequently and the air cools. Wildlife quickly senses these changes. A sense of urgency for the coming season spreads throughout the ecosystem. Autumn in the subalpine region paints a richly coloured portrait of nature. Daytime temperatures remain pleasant, but at nightfall, the cold returns, sometimes dropping below freezing. Autumn brings a slow but energetic transition. Autumn is a critical time for the raccoon. Although native to North America, this species has gradually expanded its range in Switzerland. Now, the raccoon is well adapted to its new environment, particularly around Lake Geneva. In autumn, raccoons focus on accumulating energy by consuming a varied diet. Omnivorous, they hunt small animals, gather berries and nuts, and even catch small fish. Beyond searching for food, autumn is also the time when raccoons reinforce their dens. They often seek out hollow trees, caves, or abandoned structures to create a safe refuge before the cold arrives. As cold winds signal the proximity of winter, food collection becomes the primary priority of the red squirrel. It spends most of its time gathering pine cones and nuts from conifers and the forest floor. It then hides them carefully underground or in tree cavities. Possessing a remarkable memory, the squirrel can remember the exact location of its buried treasures, even when the ground is covered in snow. However, about 20 to 30% of the nuts are never recovered. They will sprout, contributing to the regeneration of the forest. Around September, the yellowhammer gathers in small flocks and begins its migration. most of the Swiss Alps population migrates south. They fly through valleys like the Rhone and Lauterbrunnen to reach the Mediterranean, where the climate is warmer and food more abundant. Unlike the yellowhammer, the great tit is a partial migrant. Some individuals leave, while others, particularly males, stay in the mountains if the climate is not too severe. These residents must accumulate fat reserves to survive the winter, depending on seeds, nuts, and occasionally small insects. The ability to find and store food becomes vital as nighttime temperatures can drop below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Temperatures drop between 21 and 39 degrees Fahrenheit. Forests gradually give way to high-altitude meadows and cold-tolerant vegetation. These pastures become the last food source for herbivores before they descend to lower ground. It is also the time when male ibex, living separately in summer, return to the herds to establish dominance before the breeding season. The fierce clash of their horns echoes on the cliffs. Their horns can measure up to nearly 3 feet long, and a pair can weigh up to 13 pounds. Only the victors will earn the right to mate at the end of autumn. Autumn is a time of maximum activity for the alpine marmot. They intensively seek food, grasses, roots, and seeds to accumulate fat reserves for their long hibernation. Alongside their search for food, marmots dig and repair their burrows, which can reach depths of 22 feet, lining them with hay for insulation. Living in family groups, they share their underground network and place sentinels that emit high-pitched whistles to warn of the presence of predators. As winter approaches on the high peaks, the Eurasian lynx also begins to roam more widely. It is time to expand its hunting grounds and accumulate energy for the coming winter. The territory of a single Eurasian lynx can cover from 38 to 100 square miles. The Eurasian lynx primarily targets species like roe deer and chamois. In autumn, these prey are busy storing energy for winter, which can make them less vigilant and therefore easier targets. The lynx is not limited to large animals. It also hunts smaller creatures like marmots and hares to ensure a constant supply of food. The Eurasian lynx is Europe's largest wild cat. Its powerful body, long legs, and large paws allow it to move with grace over steep, snow-covered mountain terrain. In the glacial zone, temperatures drop sharply, oscillating between 28 and 39 degrees Fahrenheit, marking the end of the warm summer months. Ice and snow return gradually, covering the high peaks and glaciers. Streams fed by summer meltwater begin to dry up as snow covers the ground, creating a pristine and silent landscape. Autumn in the glacial region is a unique time when flocks of migratory birds from the north gather. Their journey from colder regions like Scandinavia and Siberia creates a vibrant spectacle amidst the snow and valleys. Autumn is also the time when the rock ptarmigan begins its molt, changing from its summer mottled brown plumage to a coat of pure white. This white plumage is not just perfect camouflage, but also an insulating layer that keeps it warm during the cold days of late autumn. The rock ptarmigan also tends to create small paths in the snow, hiding near large rocks and shrubs to avoid predators. As autumn progresses, the rock ptarmigan moves to lower altitudes, where snow is less deep and food more accessible. From November to March, snow-covered peaks stretch like an icy tapestry. In the highest regions, temperatures can drop to -22 degrees Fahrenheit, turning the Swiss Alps into a frozen kingdom. In the subalpine zone, temperatures can fall from -4 to 28 degrees Fahrenheit, covering the ground with a thick layer of snow and ice. Pine and spruce forests dress in white, creating a scene of profound stillness. Life endures in silence, but it is a constant struggle against the harshness of winter. As the temperature drops, the red deer's coat becomes thicker to resist the cold. Its winter coat has two layers, a dense outer layer to block the freezing wind, and a soft inner layer for insulation. The red deer travels between 3 and 5 miles per day in search of food. It eats not only grass and shoots, but also small shrubs. In winter, red deer tend to form larger herds for better protection against predators. The red squirrel, meanwhile, seems to face fewer challenges thanks to its clever autumn collecting habits. It depends on the pine cone and nut caches it has skillfully stored. Over 6,000 seeds are kept, providing the squirrel with energy throughout the cold winter. In old buildings or abandoned attics, one can sometimes find a tawny owl sheltering. In winter, the snowy landscape makes hunting difficult, but this owl is well adapted. The tawny owl possesses exceptionally fine hearing. Its asymmetrically placed ears allow it to locate prey with remarkable precision. It can detect the faintest sounds up to 10 feet away. With its silent flight, this owl glides through the night, approaching its prey undetected. At altitudes above 6,500 feet, the landscape is dominated by absolute cold. Temperatures drop below 14 degrees Fahrenheit, while fierce winds sweep the peaks. The Matterhorn stands stoic and imposing, an icy icon of this land. A colossal amount of snow covers the ground, reaching depths of up to 13 feet at altitudes above 8,000 feet. Under this thick blanket of snow, life continues. Animals must adapt, depending on their fat reserves, to survive the long winter months. Throughout the winter, the alpine marmot depends entirely on hibernation to conserve energy. Its hibernation period begins in late September or early October and lasts until the following April or May. During this time, the alpine marmot ceases all activity, lowering its body temperature from a normal of 100 degrees Fahrenheit to about 41 degrees Fahrenheit. The chamois, meanwhile, adopts the strategy of migrating to lower altitudes to avoid deep snow. Its main food sources are dried grasses, small shrubs, and mosses that grow on less snowy slopes. To cope with the reduced food supply, the chamois reduces its activity to conserve energy. It spends most of its time resting, moving only when absolutely necessary. In recent years, the Italian grey wolves have begun to expand their territory toward the high mountain regions of the Swiss Alps. This species, once extinct in Switzerland, has returned thanks to conservation efforts. Their biggest challenge in winter is not the cold, but the scarcity of prey. To survive, grey wolves must patrol larger areas, hunting large herbivores. Deep snow slows the movement of these herbivores, making them easier targets for the pack. Wolves generally hunt in small packs of 4 to 6 individuals. They use a stalking strategy, using the snow as cover, then chase their prey until it exhausts itself. Their presence affects not only herbivore populations, but also helps restore the balance of the ecosystems. Starting in autumn, the mountain hare begins to molt, completing the process in early winter. Its pure white coat allows it to blend perfectly into the snowy landscape, offering excellent camouflage against predators. This winter coat is also twice as thick as the summer one, providing superior insulation. In winter, when vegetation is scarce, The mountain hare changes its diet, focusing on tougher plants, bark, and shrub shoots. It often has to dig through snow to find roots and shrubs, consuming about 1 to 2 pounds of food per day. Amidst this harsh environment, the golden eagle demonstrates incredible strength and survival skills. As temperatures drop and snow covers the peaks, food becomes scarce, forcing this predator to hunt larger prey. Its wingspan reaches up to 7.5 feet, allowing the eagle to soar effortlessly for hours without expending much energy. The golden eagle uses this ability to explore vast areas in search of prey. It observes from above before launching a quick and decisive attack. An eagle can spot prey from a distance of up to 2 miles, thanks to its exceptional vision. Once the target is identified, the eagle dives at stunning speeds exceeding 186 miles per hour. With its powerful and sharp talons, it attacks with precision and speed. In winter, its hunting frequency decreases by about 30% compared to summer. This energy-saving strategy is crucial for the eagle's survival during extremely cold days. Winter in the glacial region of the Swiss Alps reveals a majestic and frozen landscape. The biting wind sends temperatures dropping below -22 degrees Fahrenheit. A layer of snow over 3 feet deep covers everything like an endless white carpet. The Aletsch Glacier, nearly 14 miles long, moves slowly, its pristine ice surface shining under the weak sun. Large lakes like Lake Geneva and Lake Thun freeze partially, but thanks to the flow of the glaciers, areas of open water remain. These open water points become crucial feeding and resting places for the mute swan during the harsh winter. Weighing between 20 and 26 pounds with a wingspan reaching nearly 8 feet, the mute swan uses its large size and dense plumage to stay warm. Waterproof feathers and an insulating layer of fat help it retain heat in the freezing water. A special circulatory mechanism in its feet allows swans to walk on ice without losing too much body heat. When spring arrives in the Swiss Alps, the entire mountain range awakens from its long lethargy under snow and ice. From March to June, meltwater from the high peaks flows toward the valleys. Temperatures rise gradually, oscillating between 35 and 55 degrees Fahrenheit, breathing new life into the mountains and forests. Green meadows stretch out, welcoming the first rays of sun and announcing a new cycle of life. The mallard, a common waterfowl, also begins its breeding season. Each female lays 8 to 12 eggs, which are incubated for about 28 days. Shortly after birth, the ducklings quickly learn to swim and find food under the direction of their mother. In the subalpine zone, the landscape becomes more vibrant as the snow melts. Clear streams and lakes nourish the vegetation. Valleys like Zermatt and Lauterbrunnen transform dramatically, with waterfalls falling nearly 1,000 feet against a backdrop of fresh greenery. Temperatures oscillating between 32 and 50 degrees Fahrenheit create ideal conditions for crocuses to bloom and for the red fox's hunting season to begin. The red fox enters its breeding season. After a gestation period of about 49 to 55 days, the female gives birth to 4 to 6 kits in well-protected dens. The male hunts and brings food, while the mother teaches the young her hunting skills. As vegetation comes back to life, the roe deer moves from higher altitudes to lower areas in search of food. Spring is a critical time for reproduction. The female generally gives birth to 1 to 3 fawns, which she hides in brush or tall grass. The hoopoe, a rare bird in Switzerland, returns to the subalpine region in the spring to breed. With its vibrant plumage and crown-shaped crest, it needs open areas rich in insects to feed. Lake Lugano, with its warm climate and diverse ecosystem, is an ideal nesting place. Far above, peaks like the Sentis at over 8,000 feet and the Matterhorn at 14,692 feet stand majestically against the blue sky. This is the magnificent portrait of spring as new life spreads in the Alps. Spring is also the breeding season for the alpine ibex. The young are capable of climbing just hours after birth, a crucial skill that helps them escape predators on vertical cliffs. Beneath the majestic peaks of the Swiss Alps, the balance of nature is slowly being lost. Human invasion alters the landscape, reducing habitats and directly threatening wildlife. As temperatures rise, vegetation struggles to regenerate, food sources become scarce, and winter is no longer a safe refuge. The fight for survival has become a relentless race against time. Climate change, heavily influenced by human activity, severely impacts the Swiss Alps ecosystem. Glaciers are melting at an unprecedented rate. But this paradise faces a harsh test. Climate change is no longer a prediction. It is present in unusual snowstorms and devastating landslides. At the foot of the mountains, the human footprint advances more and more. Over the last decade, ski resorts and cable cars have consumed 5% of subalpine forests. Even legendary rivers like the Rhine suffer. Its summer flow has decreased by 15% due to pressure from hydroelectric dams and water management to save Europe's water tower. Bold solutions have been deployed on the Morteratsch Glacier. Immense white blankets are spread like protective duvets, reducing ice melt by 50%. More ambitious still, artificial ice stupas are created in winter, storing water as permanent cones to compensate for summer drought. Hope is born from commitment. The Swiss government is in a race against time to restore 25,000 acres of native forest. And the brightest symbol of this rebirth is the Eurasian lynx. Completely eradicated in the 19th century, the lynx has made a spectacular comeback since 1971. Now, the silent shadow of this predator in the forests is not just a beautiful sight. It is proof of an ecosystem that is slowly healing. The future of the Alps does not lie only in the hands of scientists, but in the choices of each one of us. Ecotourism is gradually replacing heavy infrastructure with a 15% increase in sustainable hiking. Every small action, like a single drop of meltwater, can converge to create a powerful current that brings life. Conservation is not the responsibility of a single organization. It is a symphony of unity between humanity and nature.